Hi, friends. Wanted to get on because I am part of a couple of just kind of informational support groups on Facebook that have everything to do with just ADHD support. And I see so many comments about people feeling alone about all these things, or is this normal, or um, like just needing support, information, or um, like how do people cope with this, or how do they do this or get past this? And I have kind of a unique, interesting view on this because not only is my entire house ADHD, um, I we're both my husband and I know I am. I'm guessing he is also combined, but he and I are like polar opposites. And it actually, and I am not trying to brag by this, but we've learned to get them to complement each other rather well. Yes, it's taken a lot of work to figure that out because he was diagnosed in college and I was diagnosed about 4 years ago. So I I have a thing right now about debunking myths and myths versus truth. So this is kind of my unofficial ADHD myths that I feel like people just automatically assume. And I wanted to debunk some of them because like when you hear it from somebody else, you're like, oh, like I'm making it too hard because that is what I do. And I was like, oh, it's more fun to make it hard because that's what I do. So, anyway, before we get started, here's my disclaimer of I am not a physician. I'm not a licensed professional of any sort. I come to you with pure out just personal interest, knowledge, the research that I've done by myself, all my life experience, and everything like that. Um, I have connections to a lot of people who are licensed professionals, and I have bombarded them with questions at some points. And I do have a lot of resources and places that I go to look at first. But um, I am not I'm not licensed in anything except for working on a ADHD coaching certification. So yay! Um, So let's get started. First of all, I don't know if anybody else would roll their eyes by this, but one of the first things I always hear of, oh, what helps people manage their ADHD. And one of the first things you'll likely always hear is exercise. And um, I I happen to just be I happen to mostly enjoy exercising. Um, But I know a lot of people don't, my husband included. And it, I wanted to dive into this one a little bit because um, even if you're not a runner or a formal, it doesn't have to be a formal workout. If you don't want to run or walk on a treadmill or do any of the um, kind of top of mind exercise things, you don't have to. Exercise can be a lot of things, but really, I like to think of it more as move your body. Um, whether that be like a trampoline or a jump rope, um, going up and down stairs in your house doing, putting things away, or walking around the house or a store or something doing stuff. You'd be shocked at how many things, maybe it's just like house maintenance or um, getting out to enjoy nature or something like that. But if you're like doing lifting, hyper focusing on cleaning out storage rooms or basements or whatever it is, those things are all like manual kinesthetic things that are getting your body to move. Um, I think a lot of people maybe didn't realize if you're a late diagnosis, you might not have realized that because when you're in a lot of like physical activities as a kid, whether that be formal or not, a lot of times that is kind of your medicine. That keeps the cortisol level down in you. And so you did that naturally. And you can absolutely still do that. But exercise doesn't have to be formal. I like the repetitive. I can go run the, I have a, from my house to the end of a block and back is about a mile and a half. And I like going and jogging that in the morning when it's still dark. And yes, it is repetitive, um, sort of obviously boring, but it gives my brain something to like checkpoint, checkpoint, checkpoint of here's how much I have to go so that I can split the run into into sections and help myself be like, okay, just get to this next section. My husband, on the other hand, is very much of just a like yard work, busy work, building things, all of that kind of stuff, labor. He thinks running and just weightlifting, he'd be bored out of his mind. And every time he tries to do that, he might do it a couple times and then he's like, yeah, I can't do that. Um, So, exercise does not have to be formal exercise. It is more of just moving your body a lot and finding a way to get your heart rate up. And it doesn't have to be big, like crazy things. Yeah, it could be setting setting a timer and just going to run stairs or do jumping jacks or a jump rope or something like that. So it doesn't have to be that hard and you can get creative because ADHDers get bored with things. So, um, you know, after you get bored with one thing or however you like to do it, um, move your body. Another thing that I've heard a lot recently is like, how in the heck do I focus? How do I focus? I can't like keep consistent with all of these things. And my personal experience is um, as long as I have interest in something, I can be consistent. But once I have mastered or no longer have interest in something, I'm not going to do it. There's not going to be consistency with this anymore. Um, So when you're thinking about doing tasks for other people, um, think about think about that because we can hyper focus depending on your brand of ADHD, whatever that looks like for you. If you're not interested in it, if it doesn't have um, novelty, if it doesn't have a challenge, um, most of the time if you can like do something in your sleep, then you get bored with it. Something to that extent. ADHD is very much, um, in my opinion, an interest-based nervous system, not a priority-based nervous system, meaning we prioritize and we'll always gravitate towards things that interest us. And it takes like a whole lot more energy to make us do something that we don't want to do, we don't like, or is boring to us that we aren't interested in because we don't want to do it. Our brain doesn't want to focus on it. And then, your brain starts wandering because you don't want to do this. Um, and that leads me to the next thing. There are so many times, and I learned this very, very much the hard way, is when there is something that I am bored with or that I don't want to do, or, I'm not on complete avoidance of something because um, maybe I know it's going to be hard, who knows? I find myself just totally mentally done at the end of the day because it takes us twice as much mental energy to to do things that are boring, things that we know, potentially know are going to be hard that we don't want to do, and um, or potentially things that we are sick of doing and no longer interested in. I've heard a lot of people say like I used to do this, I used to love this, and like kind of a what's wrong with me? Why don't I want to do this anymore? Like I used to love it. And I would say, are you bored with it? Yes, again, you can probably do it in your sleep, but are you bored with it? Because if it is something highly repetitive, highly monotonous, um, even if even if you could do it in your sleep and you used to enjoy it, you may just have moved on mentally because you're like, okay, been there, done that. I know how to do it now. You need the novelty of something new. You need a new challenge. And so when that happens, know that like if you're bored with something or in that realm, making yourself do that is taking like double the energy. And so if you find yourself just like mentally exhausted at night, that may be an issue. Or um maybe you get to early afternoon, you're like, "Oh my gosh, like I've been sitting here all day, but like you're teaching yourself or you're doing something that you've been putting off for so long and you're making yourself do it and it's taking a lot of brain power." That could be it. Um, Complex versus simple tasks. This is a fun one. So I've seen so many comments and I want to go down the rabbit hole so much on this, and I'm going to do my best not to. So lots of ADHDers like to do con complex, there we go, tasks because they're challenging, they're interesting, and a lot of times we're like, ooh, like I can do this. I want to figure it out. And then you get in that hyper focus mode and then you have to figure it out and you cannot think about anything else. It kind of consumes you, right? But then you're like, okay, why can't I make a dang doctor appointment? Why can't I remember to change my laundry or do like whatever simple task? Why can't I remember to um, do this one errand that shouldn't be that hard? And I would say sometimes the easiest tasks are things that like I can't make myself do because um because they're boring or um maybe they're just tedious or again, just something I don't want to do. Maybe the thought of having all the tiny steps to do it automatically overwhelm me, and I'm like, I don't want to do that. Like just thinking about all the little tiny things I have to do. Um, no. And so, you can you can like learn to build a rocket or, some ridiculous thing that everybody's like, what? You can do this, but you can't do that. And it's not the fact that we can't, it's the fact that we would rather do this other thing and learn something new, interesting, and exciting than do um the boring thing. Like it's been a thing in my house recently. I hate meal planning. Um, I don't want to look it up. I don't want to figure out what we're having every single night, plus add all the meals, the snacks, all the ingredients. I don't want to do that. I do not like it. I can very easily go add things to a grocery cart, and I actually do like to make it. I don't want to do the planning, which is weird because I am very much of a planner. I like to know what's going on for the most part. So, complex versus simple tasks. There you go. And okay, Joy, I froze for a second. Fun. Um, so another thing that I didn't understand this about myself for a really long time is stimulation. And again, this is an area where my husband and I are completely opposite because I we joke so much that I am the more extrovert than he is, but I'm about 20% introvert and 80% extrovert. And he is like the complete opposite. He's got the 20% extrovert and 80% introvert. And we both have our things as to why we're like, okay, this is where I need to have some downtime. And he will tell me that he's like he's like you breathe too loud and I'm if I'm taking deep breaths or something like that or and I'm like well you listen to music and I if I'm in the car by myself I drive in silence because it is like decompress time and going into super loud places like I can do it but I have issues with the noise and sensory things, and so like if like six people are talking to me at once, it makes me want to curl up in a ball and go in a dark room. He has to have music or something, some noise all the time. I cannot stand it. I have to work in silence, or else I cannot concentrate, cannot focus, and I will get zero things done. I cannot work if I am cold or there's a couple different things. So like he and I cannot work remote together in the same room. Does not work. We drive each other nuts and it just doesn't work. So like I have to take it in waves. I have to have my quiet downtime in the morning before everybody else gets up. And then after I've done that, then I can handle the people and the things and the my brain turning on and being in do it mode. And then about midday, I need another break. I need to go get up, go do something creative that recharges me. But I have to take a break. If I do not take a break and we're like out running errands or something, I start getting like short of breath and I'm like, I need downtime. Need downtime so bad. And downtime for me is like reading or just something quiet. For him, that would be like going and watching a TV show. And I'm like, I need to not have noise in my ears right now. So, like very, very different with that. Um, he is extremely OCD and I am not. So he has to have everything like in its place, which is fine and great. But if it is put away, for me, it's out of sight, out of mind. It will not happen. I have to have it out in a visual place for me to be like, oh yeah, I need to do something. I need to do that. I need to take it back. If it is not out for me to remember, I won't remember and it will not happen. So I also I like to have things not messy, but if it's not like in its place, it does not bother me. And we've kind of had to learn to work around that because he used to think that I was leaving stuff out and being super messy on purpose. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing it on purpose. But if it's not out where I can see it, it ain't happening. And so like we kind of we give each other a lot of grace with that. But it's hard and it, we're definitely not always perfect. And there are times where um, you know, we still struggle with it a little bit. But we both deal with it in different ways for sure. And then I have written down two-step directions because holy cow, if that's not a thing. Um, my brain's working fast. So I am very hyperactive on the inside. Sometimes I do it on the outside and I'll be like in my get it done mode and I'm all over the place. And I'm like, okay, if I don't go do this right now while I'm thinking about it, it's not getting done. But if somebody is like telling me directions or like, hey, I need you to go do this, then I, after the first two, my brain's already like logistically going and it's like, okay, where are they talking about? Which one are they talking about? To make sure I can do it right. So if there were any directions after step two, I heard nothing. And so I hear this from a lot of people who are like, yeah, I gave myself a thumbs up apparently, but like we'll be helping with something and I'll get a couple of directions, right? And I'm like, okay, and then it's no. Go get those couple of things done first. And he goes, otherwise you'll hear nothing else that I say. So go do that and then I'll give you further directions. And I'm just like, yes, here we go. Like I'm trying to do the people pleasing thing by like I want to help. I want to know what you have to say. But we've gone through it enough to where he knows that I don't hear anything after after step two. So there is really zero point in telling me anything because I won't remember, then he'll get irritated and it's a whole thing. And also with that, um, if you like, if we are hollowing through the house, I can hear that he said something, but I have zero idea what that is. And sometimes it takes me a few times to actually like hear to go do it. And we both kind of deal with that. Like we're so in the zone and thinking about something else that we may not see something that's right next to us, or we didn't hear you say something even though you walked right past us and said something to us. So, like, know that like brains are going 1,000 miles an hour, and we're not, I promise you, we are not trying to intentionally piss anybody off. And fortunately, like we've both figured out how each other works, and not to say it's easy some days because he's like drives me nuts when you do this. And I'm like, yeah, same here. But we are fortunate in the fact that we both understand that each other's brains is going like 90 miles an hour. And um, he is an analytical brain. So I know that I have to give him numbers. I have to give him numbers, facts, um, all that solid information. If he's trying to describe something to me, he knows that I'm a visual person. He needs to draw me a picture. Literally draw it out on a piece of paper so that I can visualize it because if he's just trying to describe it to me, um, I'm like, I'm trying, but I'm struggling in the way that he's describing it. It like I'm getting there, but if you just draw it out, I'll get there a whole lot faster. And so we've learned that about each other. And but it's just things like this that um are very hard to understand if you're not like in the brain of an ADHD person because it's not something we can just be like, oh, let me give you the whole context of how I'm going to think about this, or here's why I do this. It's a like, I need you to have context of why this happens or how this happens, or why I promise I'm not probably trying to piss you off, or like I would love to have interest in what you're talking about, but I can't make myself have interest. So if somebody is trying to have interest, um, like recognize that and take that into consideration because if you know that they are not interested in all in what you're doing or what you're talking about, but they are intentionally trying to listen to you and understand, that's a big deal. That takes a lot of energy, and especially if it is not their love language, that's a big deal. So, hope this helps. Welcome to my lovely ADHD life. It is um, a, a chaotic, organized mess. Is that a thing? But it is what it is. And there's nothing I can do about it. And honestly, it's how I am. I'm not trying to change it. But the more I have learned about myself, about my family, and about how I work, the more I can manage it um, and actually function better in life. So let me know if you have any questions, comments. If you want me to talk about something else a little bit more, go into a deeper dive, or if you have a scenario for me, happy to chat about it and help through some of the struggles. So I will see you next time.